How does it affect the measures of central tendency? Okay. And here it is. Have some colors going, okay? It just makes it easier to see what's happening here. So a lower outlier will pulse. That's not right. Pulse, just get rid of the will. You are. Trust me, today it's going to happen. A lower outlier pulls the mean down, okay? So that's something I want you to remember, a lower outlier. So this lower outlier right here, let's underline that with something. The lower outlier is this one right here. Because if you look at your number line and every dot representing a number in your data set, this is your lower outlier, right? And you can tell it's significantly different from the rest. So if you envision your mean originally being somewhere over here, the average is usually among your data set. The low outlier is going to pull it down. Okay, it's going to decrease it. Can you agree with that? Let's say you score a bunch of tests, you're doing all right, 60, 70, some 80s, and all of a sudden there's a test that is 0. Maybe you were sick or whatever, but this would definitely bring your average down, right? Significantly. So this outlier would affect it quite a bit. Okay. So on the other hand, if you have an upper outlier, right, will get rid of that. An upper outlier pulls the mean up. Okay, so let's just make an arrow going to this upper outlier. How do you know it's an outlier? Because it lies outside, right? It's significantly different than everything else. So if you don't do so well on a lot of scores, but all of a sudden you have a score that's 100%, you can bet your average is going to go up, right? So this is my average. It gets pulled up by that mean. But it turns out that in statistics, you don't really like outliers because it skews it, right? Outliers skew your average. They skew your results. And they're often, these outliers are usually errors, like somebody didn't record something properly or something happened. It's an anomaly. It's not something you would want to include. Right, if you're looking at your average income, if most of the time you make, 2,000 a month and then, 3,000, some 5, but all of a sudden you make nothing. If you talk on average, this is probably, I don't know, something happened. You went on a holiday or you were self-employed, you got injured, something like that, right? You wouldn't want to include this in general. You wouldn't want to tell the bank your average income, including that, okay? And same out here, like let's say you won the lottery. Let's not go that crazy, right? Because then you would just retire, you would stop. You won a scratch and win, you got $1,000 the extra that month, so your income's like, whew. Let's say, I actually, a former teacher here won a $25,000 scratch and win ticket, which was quite awesome. He retired already, but yeah, I used to be really close. And but that was something that you wouldn't want to include on average. Hey, my income was this much that year. No, because 25,000, you won that. It's not going to happen on a regular basis. Okay, let's look at this chart one more time. I don't like that it's so dark because you can't really highlight anything, but I'm going to try anyways. I want you to focus on, this is your data set. These are the numbers you've collected. It kind of gives it away already. I was going to ask you, do you notice an outlier? You notice it? Minus 350 degrees Celsius, and everything else is like 15 and up, like between 15 and 31. This, right, is your outlier. Significantly different, this one right here. Okay? So I'm trying to make it work still for what I'm trying to do here. So if we're considering the mean, the median, and the mode of this data set, there is, with the outlier, your results. What do you get as an average? You get minus 28, your median is 26, and your mode is 31. The range is also pretty outrageous. Do you know what the range is? You should have talked about the range in younger grades. For some reason, this chapter doesn't require you, but the range is the difference between the smallest and the largest value, which makes sense that it's outrageous because you're going all the way from negative 350 all the way to like positive 31, right? So there's a big range. What if you omit the outlier without the outlier? Do you notice a change in the mean from negative 28 to positive 25? So let's make an arrow here and just say has been affected, right? The mean has been affected. What about the median? Has it been affected a whole lot? If you remove the outlier, so let's say you get rid of that minus 350, you don't include that, there's minimal change, right? Small change. And then the mode, has that been affected? No change. And that is usually the case, that the mode, unless the one you're removing happens to be your mode, it won't be affected, right? So no change, small change, and affected big time is your mean. Your mean is affected by the outlier, okay? So let's keep going. Fascinating stuff, right? I think you can wrap your head around it. It should be noted that outliers affect the mean, but have little effect. Watch this. I'm going to use orange. Little effect on the median The median is often used to describe the average income. Often one hears that the median income for a group is a certain value. The mean is not typically used because of outliers, right? So mean is not typically used because of outliers. Why would that be? Because we all know that it can significantly, right? People who make significantly more or make no money will affect this measure. Okay? So if you have a bunch of hockey players in the city of Winnipeg, they make millions. It doesn't really, like, it would actually skew your data significantly. Same with people that make no money, would also affect you in that way. Okay, would pull up or down. So you will see that we have an issue with outliers. We're good? Let's go to, oh, sorry. Go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, stop me if I'm too fast, because I don't know why I'm racing, right? Like, I'm not getting a trophy or anything. But, okay, if there's anything to remember from this page is that outliers pull your mean up or down, and that removing them will affect your mean the most. Like, the mean is the most affected by outliers. You know what I mean? I'm trying to make a joke here. Um, the mean is the most affected by outliers. Okay, remember that. Let's keep going. We're going to introduce some number lines here. Okay, go to page 11. Page 11. Okay, I'm asking you. Amir owns a food truck. The following are sales amounts per day over a 7-day period. Place the values on the number line below. Do you see the outlier? Okay, so to make things easier, I'm going to give you a bit of a scale here. Look at the numbers. This is on page 11. Look at the numbers we have. So we're gonna go as low as 250 and as high as 2500. Okay, so I'm gonna try something here. I'm gonna make this my 0, and I'm gonna go every second line, I'm gonna make that 500. So this would be 1000, 1500, 2000, 2500. You're like, Mr. Jackson, how do you come up with that? I just tried things, right? So if you need to go every line 1000, that's up to you. But I think this works out pretty nicely. And then you'll put down sales in dollars. You label your axes a little like whatever, right? It could have been amount of rain, it could have been whatever. In this case, we have sales in dollar signs. So now I want you to go through this. Where would you put 250? So we're going to put a dot for every number we see. So 250 is right about here. Just make a nice dot there. Then we go 300. 300 would be right about here. And then we're going to go 500. 500 is right there. Then we're going to go 250. Oh, 250 is taken already. What happens when that happens? When there's another 250? Stack it. That's right. There's another. So, and then 900, just approximate is fine. Okay, I'm not gonna split hair over, oh, you got it a little bit off, right? Just 900 goes there. 1250, where would that go based on the scale? 1250 is actually right here. Because if you notice, I'm going up by 250, right? And then the next one is 2500. Is way over here. Do you see the outlier? Do you see the outlier? Do you? Yes, Mr. Dixon, I see it. It's right there. How do you know? Significantly different. Significantly different. Is it an upper or a lower outlier? Duh, it's an upper, Mr. Dixon. Upper outlier. It's on the higher end. Okay? It's going to pull the average up. Okay, B, I'm going to ask you to do here for me. Determine the mean, median, and mode of that data set right here. And then we'll label them on the number line. Maybe just wait for me on that one. And then I'm also going to ask you, what does the median tell us? So I'm leaving space here for a reason, okay? So figure out the mean, median, mode for that. Can I ask you to arrange it? Listen carefully. Either you arrange it here or you arrange it right underneath here. It's up to you, but arrange this somewhere so you can find your mean, median, mode. Go now. I need you to arrange it because I'm gonna use it for C, okay? So take a couple minutes. All right, I'm just gonna already start quietly. I'm gonna arrange this. And remember, I suggest you crossing off, right? 300, and then it's 500, 900, 1250, 2500. 2, 4, 6, 7. I've got 7. So based on that, my mean is 5950 divided by, make sure you copy, guys, 850 per day is the average sale, right? Because the 7 represents the 7 days we've tracked. And the median, it's 7 divided by 2, correct? 7 divided by 2, which is 3.5. So it's the 4th number. So I'm just going to go up here where it's arranged and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's $500. $500. And what's my mode? 250, that's right. That's the most often occurring. Is the mode a good measure of central tendency here? It's actually a very bad one, right? 250 is not even close to the center. It's way at the end. So if I ever ask you like which MCT is not a good one, you'd probably have to say this one, right, in this case. So let's go and just label it. This is your mode. Where would our average be? 850 would be about. This is 750. It's somewhere in here, right? This is our average. And the median, where would median be? It's actually, median is a value in our data set. So the median is there. So you labeled all three of them in your number line. Okay. So I did a check here. I found those. I found the median mode. I labeled. And what does median tell us? I'll give you 100. I can't say anything else after that. 100 cents. No, I'm not even that. I don't have cash on me. What would median tell us, folks, in this context? If I say, hey, my median sales is 500, what am I telling you? Or maybe what am I not telling you, but you should pick up on that? Not all at once, because I can't handle. What does the median tell us? Anyone? You're not sure? Within this context, it would tell us, okay, median, right? That half of the sales were below $500 and half were above $500. That's what it's telling you. So within the context, it's just half over, half under, but sometimes it's like the amount of rain, right? Millimeters, let's say. Half of the time it rained more than this, half of the time it rained less than this. So just let the context tell you, right, what the median is trying to say. So I'm going to do this last one, and then I will just assign you some work and hand out the test so you can look at it, okay? This is important, okay? This is basically my conclusion. This is my last statement here. If we would omit, in other words, remove the outlier, how would it affect the mean, median, and mode? Okay. So, in other words, let's do this real quick. Please write this down because I need you to have at least one example where it's very clear what we're doing. So you're basically saying, we don't want this. We do not want to include our outlier. So let's say we remove, how will it affect my mean, median, mode? Pay close attention to this shortcut here. You're with me? I'm going to take the 5950. Watch this. 5950. And what am I going to subtract from it? Because 5950 is the entire sum. I'm going to subtract 2500 from it. I think it's faster doing it that way. And I used to have how many values? And I'm subtracting one value, correct? So I'm down to 6. This is actually going to save you a lot of time down the road because I'm going to ask you like 14 numbers. Hey, if you remove the outlier, what's your new mean? This is the way to go. This is the way to go. Okay, so that's 3450 over 6. So it's now 575 a day that you're making. Has it changed from before? Absolutely. It used to be 850. How about my median? This is a little trickier. How many values do we have now if I remove this guy? 6. So that's even, isn't it? So even. So I need to go 6 divided by 2, right? Because remember, I'm going to have to add two numbers and divide that by 2. So the 6 divided by 2 tells me that I'm going to have to take the third and the fourth and find it that way. So what's the third and the fourth? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's between 300 and 500. Can you guess what it's going to be? What's between 3 and 500? 400, right? Because it's going to be 800 divided by 2. That's 400 a day. And my mode, what's my mode? It's still 250, right? The mode has not been affected because it's over here. You removing that outlier did not affect it one bit. Okay, so it's this many sales per day. So what was this before versus 850, right, a day? If you included the outlier, my median was versus 500 a day versus 250 a day. Right, not been affected. I'm going to use a red pen to make this note here. Big change. I would say small change. No change. Just making an observation here. You could have said somewhat of a change. I would be fine with that. But there we go. Before I close, make sure you write this down first, and then I will make my concluding. Okay. Question of the day. Could you have predicted that removing that outlier would have like decreased your mean? It's almost like this, like when you do tug of war, the really, strong person at that one end lets go, and then everything swings the other way. Think of it that way, right? You're removing an upper outlier. Of course, you're expecting the mean to decrease, right? You're expecting that to happen. So, you ready? I'm gonna return your test, but I want you to try. Go to page 12. Try pages 12. I'm gonna say 12 to 15. That seems like a lot, right? It seems, but watch. If you go to 15, there are literally just 2 of those fill in the blank questions, right? So if you're comfortable with those, leave them, but do everything else. I would say before you go, do page 12. I will post the answer key to all of that, okay?